to them after I was convicted. But I know if I take the time and check, somebody get a higher office and raise a P. Because listen, and they did, and they have been sentenced all on the streets of wherever it started at. They didn't have an opportunity to say, oh, I didn't do it. Oh, I was with Tom or Dick or Harry. Right there on the streets. So, again, it's how you look at what happened to you in life. Right? Because I go try to take this with fortune and turn it around. I can start here. This is where I was born at. Right? So we can start a program, a process. Just fight for something.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kawasi, and Colin, Casey.
Yes.
Well, respect to Colin wife, Casey wife. But I know Casey for a long time. I have the same. I had the same problem, right? I did 25 years in New York Correctional Facility. I was innocent of a crime I didn't do.
Yes, boss.
Same thing like Colin. You know, got railroad. Somebody come and say they saw me did it. And I ended up doing 25 years. You know, I did my 25 years. I kept my innocence because I went to the board and told them straight up, I did not commit the crime. I fell for the victim, and I also got a letter from the victim's wife stating that I had nothing to do with the crime. You know, so I thank God to be free.
Listen, this is one of our soldiers too.
Warrior.
This is one of our soldiers. This is the one who didn't get a chance to tell the story in a movie.
Yeah.
So,
There are thousands of others. Like him here.
Too.
I went to see him in prison
Yeah,
after
yeah.
doing 21 years in prison. I went to
Yeah.
see this brother.
This man.
Right? So it all continues. It's no joke. Sometimes when you look at people, we misjudge people. And that is not good. Because that person may have something to give to you all. Right? We all go through changes.
The
right?
thing about it, this brother here had no family in Trinidad. So they actually sent him back with the clothing he had from the state prison.
Yep.
So he came out the airport, no family, and went to, what's that? Chance? Yeah. Innocent dude. I was working on his case, you know what I mean, for a while. But the so-called eyewitness found out she was dead. But we were dedicated, Colin and myself, after he came out, went to visit him, read the transcript report, and realized the case was a bad case. But he never got the opportunity to get back in court. So he was sent back from that state prison as a convicted killer. Humble dude. Everybody around the streets of Brooklyn knew that this guy didn't do it. They heard it was the next guy. But so he's here with no start from the US as far as just send him back, along with others who they send back who grew up in the US. So I don't know if there's any program in place.
Well, there is one, Wing Chant, Vision and
Well,
Mission.
yeah,
that
but,
accept the
they
report.
they have me as support.
Right, but I'm
But you need
saying,
more. You need more.
and the US doesn't fund that. They just kick you out.
I just wanted to say one thing that Colin was saying, right? Wait. Colin was saying about the lawyers and them, right? I had a lawyer, the same attorney, right? She used me as a stepping stone. You know, that's what they do. Legal aid lawyers, they use you as a stepping stone. If you don't have a good legal aid lawyer, you never get out of prison. You know, the amount of papers I put into court and things, I just kept getting knocked down. You know, until I almost say forget it.
Man is strong, we strong people. And we should not have our back against the wall to show our strength. Right? If you know how it is to see him, as he sees me, right? Because it's like living in 2 or 3 different type of worlds. Imagine, okay, for my kids, 16 years old, that's all I know is Trinidad, right? Trinidad is my world. I learned more about Trinidad overseas than when I was living in Trinidad. But any case, you only know one culture. You go to America, you go to Brazil, you go to Europe, wherever. That's another culture. You have to take your time and figure out how you can move around. You may need a lot of help at first, but eventually your goal is to move around individually and dependent on yourself, right? So now you go to this culture, you go to 3 years, then you get caught up. You go in the prison system, which is a totally different culture. No amount of TV watching can prepare you for the actual prison. No amount. Right? So now you have to try to assimilate into this foreign culture. Listen, I was in prison 10 years. And the behavior I see from individuals make me believe like, what the hell is going on? Did I just come to prison? How I missed this? Because we try to like revert back to the most animalistic ways. Because remember, all your control is taken away. All your control is taken away. You ring a bell when you gotta go to eat. Turn off the light when you have to go to sleep. Everything is controlled. And you know who's the new prisoner that I see? Them cell phones and things. Locking me down without even, without no reason, me locking me mind down with a bowl seat. Who doing it? It's not Sony, it's not Toshiba, it's me. If you go on a plane, on a train, and see them come off, everybody like this. Nobody looking, but they just following. Follow you to a cliff. Go follow and go over a cliff and you fly and say, what the hell am I doing here? But that is me, that is we. We don't know everything, and when we're young, we act like we know everything. How you know that? Nobody tell me, I just know.
Yeah,
true. Oh, okay, 11-year-old, my daughter the same way, but she did. Turn up my hand there, please. I have to introduce her because even after what they did to me, this is what one of the products. My daughter 11 years old, right? So, out of any darkness, you can produce light. Okay, anything.
Yeah.
Right? We just have to have a faith and maintain our conviction. Don't let nobody take away what we have. Nobody. Don't give them that power. Right? I talking shit, boy. Listen.
You have a next question?
Greetings, my brother.
Greetings.
And greetings to the audience here today. I have to say this is a very, very special occasion. I mean, I'm just overwhelmed by the testimony and the emotions in the room. But Rennie, I think we need to address the question from the sister there with the gray hair. And perhaps you're the person who wants to do it in this room tonight, even though you're the chairperson. But what we're talking about here, this brother here also touched on the issue. We're talking about a country that represents 4.4% of the world's population, with a prison rate of 25% of the world's population. It is referred to in the academia as mass incarceration. And we're very well aware all over the globe of the terrible injustices in that country, which overwhelmingly work against the poor and people of color. And what we have in Trinidad and Tobago right now is a situation where I haven't been following news too closely to know if the guy has actually been confirmed in his position or not. But a gentleman who went to New York and brought Rudy Giuliani and Bill Bratton here in 2014 to Trinidad and Tobago, put them in Hyatt, and used their methodologies, the broken glass system, broken windows, yes, broken windows theory, to train our police officers. And we are seeing the rise in the type of injustice and the increase in incarceration rates and other forms of injustice right here in Trinidad and Tobago. And I can give many stories. I have a radio program and we interview people who, at times, whose rights are routinely trampled upon. But I think that, we're heading down a dangerous road, and having brothers like him in the country talk about their reality. There are other brothers here who talked about the reality that they have faced in the United States of America, gives us a moment to pause and look at where we are going. And it'd be great for you, as an expert in this area, to give us 2 words on that. Thank you very much.
But also as an expert in the area, I've got to use emotional intelligence. And this is not my show. This is about these people here. So that is a conversation we can have after. But I think what Colin said that really resonated with me is the fact that he did 21 years, he said, behind bars. But some people are doing 21 years on this, not even 21 years. They are being arrested, convicted, and pretty much sentenced, murdered on the streets. And this goes right back to our high homicide rate. And I think what we could do, or what Colin could do, is really have those types of conversations in the community. Because what he can show a lot of young men is what he didn't have and what they have now, which is their freedom. They have their freedom. And what also resonated again is Sheldon and Colin's friend saying that, he outjumped the pit at QRC, or he was a great footballer. And he lost those dreams. He could have been a national football player in Trinidad and Tobago, or on the US team. He could have been in a World Cup. And how do we give back to people when we have taken away all of that? And I think that is what, I don't want to cry, but I have been trying to think about it and to think about how do you give somebody back that? You can't. You can't give somebody back their dreams. And this is what, Colin didn't go to prison at 45 or 50. He went at 18 years old. He came of age, he became a man, everything behind bars, and he could never get that. And there are people right now who are just playing with that like it's nothing. And I think that is a powerful story that he can tell. The broken windows and the commission and all of that. Shabbat, I can always come on your show and we can have that discussion. All right?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Krishna BDC. Delighted to be here. My heart is broken by what I've heard from this gentleman today. I work in the criminal justice system in Trinidad. I am responsible for developing training and treatment programs for juvenile offenders at the Youth Training Center. And I would love for you to come and visit the young men there. I started an initiative this year in January called Saving Our Sons. And God inspired me to start that program when I see the amount of young men moving out of the school system directly into the prison system. We have hundreds of young men that leave homes on a daily basis and don't end up in their classrooms. From home, they don't end up in their classrooms. We have hundreds of young men all over this country that are in school but not in their classrooms. We have 14 and 15-year-olds at YTC charged for murder. And when I asked, where's your father? He's across the road, charged for murder too. So Saving Our Sons is trying to reduce the amount of our young men going to prisons and the graveyards. And I would open the door for you in the morning to come into the prison system and to speak with some of our young men before you leave Trinidad and Tobago. So whoever here is responsible for you being here, you can just get in contact with me. Call any prison. My number is 322-004. On every radio station, every day.
It's a done deal.
We will open the door. I will make sure that you get into the prison system.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Renee, for inviting me here. And blessings to you all. I'm extremely emotional and I wasn't going to say anything, but your spirit gets moved. And so I'm from the United States. I live in New York. and I went to federal prison in the United States. And I too was guilty of my crime. I had a drug conspiracy crime. But through my experience, I did see all of the women who suffered, you know, through trauma, violence, abuse, and led them through the criminal legal system. And so from then, I've done work all over the world, and which brought me back here to Trinidad through a visit that I came and when I met Mr. Bedesi 2 years ago, and one of the sisters who were incarcerated here 5 years, his home, and she started an organization called Agents of Change and asked me to come, and so we're supporting her to change legislation and things that I do in New York or in the States here. And so I share that to say that yes, as we know that the system is broken, we know that in the United States we incarcerate more people per capita, as the gentleman said, but also we look at the rising numbers of women that are incarcerated, by 700% actually. And the amount of people across the country in the United States where 70% of all people have criminal convictions in the country. And being here these last 2 days, and I just came in yesterday with L'Oreal, I noticed even the change in the things that I've heard that has been happening here. So for you, brother, I understand what you said by, you know, not knowing, should I come here, which one is better, which one is worse, right? And I know that there's nothing we can do. My 3 years pales in comparison to the 21, the 25, and the 25 that I've heard in here. But a day is a day in prison, and you don't know. Like, there's things that you said that triggered me even today. And I feel that, you know, I've healed myself through a lot of that. But just to hear you and understand the pain, and to see a black man break, you know, and that's what the system is designed to do to our people. But it's important that we continue to love and care for each other, and that we're the only ones that can do that for one another. And it is so powerful to know that you stood your ground, right? And that it's important to understand that, sister, you stood your ground. And your beautiful daughter, I see the pride that she has looking at you, you know, the pride that I feel when I look at my parents. So, you know, I just want to send blessings to you. I am in New York. I also have a house for women who are coming home from prison. I'm hoping to do that nationally, and they've also started here in Trinidad. If there's anything I can do to give a service to you or your family, just let me know.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Colin, your family has faced unimaginable tragedy. And my question would be, how has your family dealt with the entire situation, meaning your situation plus what happened to your dad? How have they dealt with it? That's one question. And the other question is, are you seeing a purpose beginning to unfold in your own life? Are you seeing what is required of you for the rest of your life? Because somewhere in the scripture I read, I think it was Paul who said that some of us must need go to prison. And it told me that this journey into prison is something that has a purpose. And therefore, when you've been through that journey, you come out with some kind of sense of purpose, and I'm sure that there is something special that you have to do. And my question is, are you beginning to see it? Thank you.
Question is a deep question, because it's a question I have asked myself for years. Why I am going through this, why am I walking this road? I know I was not I wasn't a choir boy at 18, even though my mischief had reverted to actually physically hurting people. But upon being charged and convicted for hurting somebody, right? I always ask myself, what is the reason why, because the courts give a reason for why I have to go through this process, right? Which is couldn't take the life of a human being. But for me, knowing that I did not take the life of a human being, why do I have to still go through this process? Is the answer going to be revealed to me or not? Even when I was released from prison, okay, now, show me the reason why I have to go through this stuff now. I'm willing, I'm opening myself. What I'm getting now is that one of the purposes I have is to reach out to help people. Because without any help from me, I would not be here talking to you now, right? We all need help. Ain't nobody will deny help, because we can't do it 100% every day of the year, right? So that is what I feel. I have a shelter in New York. I have a house in New York where the city pays people to live in my house, sleep in my home. I have other houses that I rent, but I know I need to go further, right? And I'm willing, and I will try to keep myself open for any opportunities that I see that I can utilize, gain from, and also help another human being. Even in making this movie, monetary gain was not a reason for making this movie. I make this movie to come here and show you all. I want to go to Africa, China, England. I went to Switzerland and they say what happened in America to me don't happen in Switzerland. But they probably hear the story yet in their own country. Right? Because even though we don't have wings yet, we're still human being, I hope so. Right? But in being a human being, let me try to be better human being. Better. Because if you don't help another person, when you need help, you can't screw when you don't get no help. Straight up. Or help ain't gonna come because you're reaching out. Just reach out. Say good morning. What the first part of the question is? Alright, listen. Tragedies gonna happen in life. Once we are living, we take care of tragedies. At one time, when I came out of prison, I believed that I have been through the roughest part of my life. Whatever I have left with me. My firstborn child is a male, and he was born a year exactly to the day of my release. I got released on February 1st, 2001. My first child was born February 1st, 2002. Same day, and he was due in March. So I had him. And I make a decision from he was born that I would not leave him. His mind and my wife and me will raise this little youth. Right? I had him for 13 and a half years. And on 4th of July, 2015, he had an accident and drowned in the pool. Right? So the last image I have of my firstborn male youth is him pulling him out of the pool. Right? So I tell you this story not to get a dog beat, but to show you that this is life. Right? I will serve 40 years in prison to have this little soul live his life. I will give up my life. I haven't lived his life. But it happened. And I can tell you all now that whatever happens to you is for a period of time. Why? Because we are for but a period of time. So nothing lasts forever. So I'm telling you now that whatever situation that you're going through now, that you feel it may be the roughest part of your life, have faith. Have faith, because you know what? None of us will walk around the corner yet. Because if you go around the corner, what we're looking at now, look like elementary thing to us. So have faith. Have faith, that's all I can say. That's all. If you look at the movie, part of the movie is part of my faith. Is when I wake up in the morning, if I open my eyes, I pray that I don't open my eyes to that jail cell, even though I am hearing it. You understand? Because faith is the absence of things unseen. We have to have, we spiritual, we have to have faith. Otherwise, we just out there. I used to tell my son, don't never stop thinking. He's 12 years old, 11 years old. Don't ever stop thinking. He said, why? He said, I tell him, because when you stop thinking, somebody else will start think for you. And it will never turn out good. So keep on thinking. That is be prerogative. We have that power. It's us to let somebody go in there and corrupt it. Hold on to be sanity. Right? Live what type of life you know is right or wrong. And hope for the best. Right? Because life can change like this. Good or bad.
Yeah.
Hi, good evening. Many of us here wouldn't have realized the challenges you've experienced, and as only as you've delved deeper into it, we have just a little sense of it. What I'd like to know is, you've touched on it a bit already, but your two friends and your wife, during that period of time, looking on to from now since back then, what can you take away from it, each of you, from the entire experience?
Well, hold on, let me see.
On a personal level, so you like.
What this man showed me is unconditional love.
Yeah.
Right? Listen, and I was scared because they are male. This is my boy. I love this man. Right? I realize that a lot of us don't experience unconditional love. So when we see it, we can't give it the right label. But I'm telling you, it's out there. Right? Everybody is out to get something just because they know you. Right? Find somebody who you love because they're just human. Just like you. They're human. I tell you, he did 21 years with me. He didn't have to do it. I didn't force him. I didn't ask him. But the spirit that he is, I say he was born to complete this mission in his life, because you know what? You have more missions to complete. You don't stop. Oh God, peace tell you.
Yeah. Well, certainly, this show me perseverance and pursuing a good cause. You would always prevail and don't give up, because this certainly was an example of not giving up, especially in a cause where a situation he was put in, and it showed camaraderie and a community, and it showed us that village concept we had from our people, that I knew of from a young age how powerful we were. That kept me, and it just kept me doing more, because I'm involved with reinvestigated cases where guys are wrongfully accused. I've been working on a case for like 15 years. It's a high profile case. A young African-American brother in Brooklyn was accused of killing a young lady in the Gap store in 1992. He was framed. So that case I'm working on, and I just turned it over to the Innocent Project with some guys like Barry Sheck, the pioneer, and they actually had a meeting with the director, and I passed on the case to them. Just 2 weeks ago, they accepted the case, which is great, because this young brother been in jail 26 years.
Wow.
So I continue to work, you know. Colin case, we knew it was not all about just Colin getting into that situation. We know it was a systematic, the system. So we are championing for the others with reform, because people fall into the prison system due to drugs, you know, the economic system. So it's a whole thing, you know. Just this morning, I was looking at a situation happening in Florida with Stanley Grounds, where a man was killed due to a little dispute. So it's a whole system we're looking into for reform. So the works continue. And Colin case, give us credit, where we just did an interview with BBC, TV and radio. So it brings a lot of conversation and awareness. So his case strengthened that power what we have to have a voice. And this warrior sister here, she, I don't want to describe it, but she knows where we came from and the power we have. So all through the diaspora. And we thank the African Festival, Trinidad and Tobago, for having us here so we could tell the story, and the story continues throughout. So we thank the sister called Asha Lovelace for having us here. We are grateful, because we know where we come from, and we know we are one powerful people, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
I took away from it again, the coming together. And let me tell you something, especially as a woman of African descent, we're in a world now where they tell us our men is nothing. You know, we can't amount to good. You know, we have to stop all of that. We from, and I'll say this, and people may think, you know, they're still looking for the person with the spear and you know, but we from a warrior spirited people. Whatever went wrong, we tried our best to fix, to help, to work it. So we have to know that. The young lady that was talking about the women in prison, I will see you personally, because that's one of our next thing we have to get on. And why it's sad, because when a woman goes to prison, she might be lucky to have a mother or sister or somebody there. But so many of them are still innocent. Do you know, in their selflessness, they don't even think of following up their project like how we had to do with Colin. All they're worried about is going home to their children. You understand? Because that part of them that says, I'm a mother. Granted, wrong or right, you know, any one of us has made mistakes. But we don't look at the core of these souls that are still missing, that going into the system, that, listen, they tucked away and nobody cares about these things. So the dialogue, the strength of what you see here, and we keep saying, is not us by ourselves. It makes a difference with everybody. Just look and see who is next to you. Like Colin said, help somebody. I work at a homeless shelter up in New York. I volunteer. I see the children of the crack era babies that come through. I see little children that don't know where their mother or father is, but what are we going to do? We going to give up on them? We can't. Like the gentleman from the prison system said, we welcome the dialogue, because this is what to us this movie is about. And again, Asha Lovelace, my sister, power to you and the people for making a conscious effort, because there's a lot of people talk about it and they don't do it. You understand? So this dialogue not only continues here, but we hope globally, because that is what we do in the mission of getting the story out. It's not about the movie or the fame or none of that for us. We want somebody to hear our cry of help for those that is behind the prison wall that cannot hear us. You understand? We have to be advocates for them, that even if they go in, try something different, teach them something. We built all the jails, all the prisons, but we don't have money to buy a child a copybook. Look at that. Flip that switch. If you are somebody in your neighborhood, in your community, go out and find out what's going on around school time. It might be a mother, listen, she may have 4 or 5 children, but she may not have just that extra $1 or $2, or not, whatever the piece of cloth costs now, to make a uniform for the child. Let's network and see who could help. And no, it's not all fathers are bad. We have to get away from that mindset. You understand? There's men in the home that is just as responsible for the children and not giving up. There is men out there that love their wives, and the women, listen, we're not giving up. We have to build and do it in a positive way and a respectful way. Each one, teach one, so we can all be uplifted and inspired, okay? The next thing I have to say, working together, the ants ate the elephant. It may look like we cannot conquer some of these things, but if we take all these small steps, I think we could make a difference.
Good evening. My name is Shujaref. I'm from St. Martin. I want to, first of all, congratulate Asha and her team, and I want to encourage each and every one of you to continue to support the festival, not only by your presence, but maybe encouraging your cooperation that you work for to put some funds into it, because we know how difficult it could be. I am the leader of a festival in St. Martin that has been existing for the last 16 years. I want to extend publicly an invitation to Collins and the whole crew that is on stage to join us next year in St. Martin, so we could get a message over there as well. Because I heard you mention Africa, America, all over the place, and I didn't hear you mention the Caribbean. And Caribbean is home first. I feel home in Trinidad, and I want to feel home in my country as well. So again, congrats to the organizers of this conference. And Asha could tell you how difficult it is to organize this. And if it's in the fourth year, 40 years are difficult years. I can tell you that. I've been through it. So your support to Asha and you speaking to your cooperation would help the festival go further and get more stories like this, not because of the negative nature of the situation, but stories that we need to hear and movies that we need to write, and our stories need to be told. Thanks a lot for having me.
Anyone else? One final, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Crystal. I work with AFTT. I just wanted to ask, how did your story become a movie? How were you approached, or because there's a million stories like your story, but how did it become a movie?
When Colin came out in 2001, there was, a lot of press. At that time, there wasn't too many news in America. That's before the Iraq War. So it was like big news in New York. 18-year-old kid spent 21 years. So at that time, not too long after, we did a lot of press and so forth, TV and radio. So we did a program with This American Life. It's public radio. And we were approached by Warner Brothers through that program in 2004. So we had a life right deal with Warner Brothers for 2 options. So what happened within that 4 years, they didn't do anything. They didn't get a writer and develop it. And there was a writer's strike, so the rights came back to us. So a few years after, there was an independent writer approached us and said that, listen, I'm really passionate about this story. I want to do it. I promise you I wouldn't put you guys with big spliff in your mouth, smoking marijuana. I'll keep it real. So we said, okay, we give him a shot. At that time, it was tough for financing because it's independent film. So he took a few years. Then we had a producer by the name of Nnamdi Asaguma. That's Kerry Washington's husband. Yeah. He's a former football player.
He played you?
Yeah, he played me in the movie. I didn't have dreads. Yeah, I didn't have dreads. However, he came on board as producer, and we started photography filming like 2 years ago. At that time, independent films, you're not sure to get it out there, but we wound up getting in the Sundance Film Festival. So we went out there to Utah, and we did some premiere and so forth. So we had Q&A, and we actually won the audience award. So at that time, Amazon picked it up, and they did the distribution in North America last year. And that's how it came about. First it was the big studios. We had two options. They wind up letting it go, and then an independent filmmaker. So we were actually approached. You know, we weren't involved with the actually production. So hope I answered clear.
Yes, you did.
All
All right, that's it. So, we're going to, call it, let me ask you something before we, even sitting in. What do you think about your
Give her the microphone.
What do you, I mean, you've heard the story,
She traveled all over
you travel with
here.
him. What do you feel?